but there's nothing you could tell them. Just made a million, got another million on my schedule. No platform, nigga breaking hearts. No keys, push to start. Yeah, you know what it is. Everything I do it big. Yeah, screaming that's nuts. When I pulled on the lot, that's nuts. I feel my town, you see me, you know everything. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. I put it down from the whip to my diamonds. I'm in black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow.
Assalamualaikum. We're from Group 1 from K9, and today we're going to talk about what are we going to present in our SCL presentation.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Aziz Akib binti Muhammad Saleh, and today I will explaining about characteristic of Animalia Kingdom. Today I will presenting on the characteristic of Animalia. First of all, let's take a look at the characteristic of Animalia. The first of the characteristic of Animalia is the multicellular heterotroph. What is multicellular heterotroph? Multicellular heterotroph is the organism that feed on other living things. Heterotroph can be divided into herbivore, carnivore, and omnivore, and also parasite based on the eating habit. Other characteristic of Animalia Kingdom is their cell-like cell wall. This means that they are flexible cells organized into tissue, and the tissue perform specific function which help the organism to carry out their daily life activities. The other characteristic of the organism in the Animalia Kingdom is that they are diverse in form and size. These characteristics have two categories, which is invertebrate and vertebrate. Invertebrate is the organism that cannot develop a vertebral column or backbone, while vertebrate is the organism that can possess and develop an invertebral column. It also consists of 35 phyla, which most of it occur in the sea. Alright, let's move on to another characteristic of Animalia, which is they are motile. Most animals are capable of locomotion at the same time during their lifestyle. For example, sponge and coral are sessile as adults, which is they are remain attached to a surface, but in mature form they move as a larva. Animals have nervous system and muscle system that allow them to quickly respond to stimuli in their environment. Animalia can reproduce sexually or both sexually and asexually. Lastly, the characteristic of Animalia Kingdom is Animalia undergo embryonic development, and also they have endoderm, ectoderm, and mesoderm. What is endoderm, ectoderm, and mesoderm? Ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm is the three primary germs that are found in early embryonic development. Endoderm is the innermost layer, mesoderm is a middle layer, and ectoderm is the outermost layer. That's all from me. Let's move on to another subtopic that will be explained by my friends.
Arrange according to the evolution of animals from simplest to most complex. What's that? That is the classification of Kingdom Animalia. Hi everyone, my name is Nitya Mariam. I'm from Group 1 and my matrix number is AS16123. I'll be introducing the classification of Kingdom Animalia. First, we have phylum Porifera. Porifera means paw-bearing, which is close to a sponge-like. Next, phylum Cnidaria. Fun fact about cnidarians is that they have cnidocytes, specialized stinging cells that is unique to cnidarians to catch prey. Phylum Platyhelminthes. They are also known as flatworms because they are worms that are flat. There are more than 800 species of flatworms. Next, phylum Nematoda. They are roundworms. Most nematodes are parasites. Most are dioecious, meaning that they have male and female reproductive organs in separate organisms. Phylum Annelida. Something to know about annelidan is that they have segmentation. What is segmentation? It's metamerism, or it can move any part of its body independently. What phylum is the growth is the classification is accompanied by ecdysis. That is phylum Arthropoda. Phylum Mollusca. Their soft body is protected by a hard shell. The shell is mostly composed of calcium carbonate. Next, Phylum Echinodermata. It lacks brain and complex sense organ, means they don't have nervous system and they cannot touch or smell. And lastly, we have phylum Chordata. All of Chordata have gill slits that lead into throat or pharynx. That's all from me. Thank you.
Today, I'll be presenting to you one of the classification in Kingdom Animalia, which is phylum Porifera.
Porifera, what is that?
Porifera means to have pores, or like I put in my slide, pori means pore and fera means bearer. It means to have pores. So this name apparently describes these animals, or we call them as sponges or sea sponges or poriferans, because their bodies are perforated by tiny holes.
What about its characteristics?
So the first characteristics of these sponges is they have variety in shape and brightly colored. So many sponges are asymmetrical, but they have variety in shape, from flat, encrusting growth to balls, cups, fans and vases. So these living sponges may be brightly colored. They have like green, orange, red, yellow, blue or purple, or they may be white or drab, as I put in the picture. And some of the species are eventually inhabited by symbiotic bacteria or algae that give them color. So the next one is these sponges or poriferans have tiny pores, and we call them as ostia. So these ostia are made from porocytes, which is a specialized tube-like cells. So as you can see in the picture, I put some white arrows in the picture to show you guys the pores on the sponges. So what is the function of this ostia? I will explain later in the simple asconoid canal system. So the next characteristics of these poriferans is they are sessile. So the definition, as I put in the slide, the definition of this word is not moved or fixed. So when they were young, we call these poriferans as sponge larvae, and these sponge larvae have flagellum, so they can swim. So after swimming for a while, this larva will find a solid object and attach to it when it already become adult sponges and settles down to a sessile life. That's why the sea sponges that we are seeing, most of them are fixed at one place and did not move as they were young. So the next characteristics of these poriferans is they have asconoid canal system. So before I go detail in this asconoid canal system, I'll be explaining to you first about cola cells. So cola cells is eventually one of the cells in the living sponges, and around the cola cells they have a flagella or flagellum. So what are the functions of those flagella around the cola cells? I'll tell you in this system. So in this simple asconoid canal system, the beating flagella of cola cells create a current that pulls water through hundreds of tiny pores that I said just now, ostia. So these ostia are made from specialized tube-like cells. We call them as porocytes. So these cells regulate the diameter of the pores by contracting it, so the water can go through it. So this water, so the water passes into the central cavity, or we call them as spongocoel, and then flows out through the sponge's opens end, or we call them as osculum, the large opening of the sponge, as I show in the picture. The body of sea sponges or poriferans is consists of outer and inner layer, and is separated by mesohyl or mesoglia for the other name. So what is mesohyl or mesoglia? So mesohyl is basically the gelatinous matrix filled space between pinnacoderm and choanoderm. So pinnacoderm is the outermost layer of the sponge body, and choanoderm is the inner layer of the sponge body. So pinnacoderm consists of pinnacocytes, which are flattened cells for the outer layer, and choanoderm, as I said just now, is the inner layer of the sponge body, consists of choanocytes, which is the flagellated cells for inner layer. So the last characteristics for poriferans is how poriferans reproduce. So poriferans can reproduce bisexually or asexually. So by sexual reproduction, we have two, hermaphroditic and gonochoristic. So for hermaphroditic, is an organism with both sexes. It means the same individual can produce both eggs and sperm. But for gonochoristic, it is the opposite for hermaphroditic, which means gonochoristic is for separate sexes. So means the male and female reproductive organs being in different individuals. So that one is for the sexual reproduction for boyfriends. So what about the asexual reproduction? So for asexual reproduction, boyfriends can reproduce by budding and fermentation, but it is also capable of regeneration. So that is how boyfriends reproduce.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. Today we're gonna learn about phylum Cnidaria. Introduction. The phylum Cnidaria is made of 4 classes, which is Hydrozoa, Phytozoa, Anthozoa and Cubozoa. All cnidarians share several attributes supporting the theory that they had a single origin. Variety and symmetry of body forms, varied colorations, and the sometimes complex life histories of cnidarians fascinates laypersons and scientists alike. Inhabiting all marine and some freshwater environments, these animals are most abundant and diverse in tropical water. Characteristics of cnidarians: primarily in marine environments and some live in freshwater. They have tissue organizations and a body plan displaying radial symmetry. The body of cnidarians is organized as a 2-layer hollow sac with the mouth and surrounded tentacles at one end. As you guys can see here, these are the body structure of cnidarians. Cnidarians have 2 basic body forms, which is polyps and medusa. Other than that, cnidarians are diploblastics, which means they have 2 definite tissue layers, the ectoderm and endoderm. What is ectoderm and what is endoderm? Ectoderm gives rise to the epidermis, and the endoderm gives rise to the inner gastrocdermis. The epidermis and gastrocdermis are separated by a gelatinous acellular materials called the mesoglea. Next is classification of cnidarians, which is Hydrozoa, Cypozoa, and Anthozoa. Here are some examples of picture of phylum Cnidaria. The first one, we are going to learn about Hydrozoa. Hydrozoa is a taxonomic class of individuals, very small predatory animals, and some solitary and some colonials, most of which inhabit saline water. Hydrozoa also live in freshwater, like pond and streams. Hydra exists only in the polyp forms, and Hydra reproduce by asexual and sexual reproduction. Hydrozoans are found in nearly all marine habitats, except perhaps heavy surf zone. They are most abundant and diverse in warm shallow water, probably as a reflection of food abundance. Obelia possess a life cycle in which polyps and medusa are equally important. Obelia, polyps, are dimorphic. There are 2 types of colony, feeding polyps and the reproduction polyps. These are some examples of hydrozoan. Last but not least is Cypozoa. The Cypozoa are an exclusive marine class of phylum Cnidaria, refers to as the true jellyfish or true jellies. The class of Cypozoa comprise the jellyfishes. Medusa is the main stage in their life cycles. They have either no polyp stage or a much reduced polyp stage. These are examples of Cypozoa. That's all from me, and thank you.
As Hanani had said, you are here with me again to talk about Anthozoa. Anthozoa falls under phylum Cnidaria. Unlike other cnidarians, Anthozoans do not have a medusa stage in their development. They have either individual or colonial polyps only. You might also know them